you'll see this very zoomed in view of me because my room is a mess, my sewing room. And I'd love to say that like that's an exception and I'm really a clean person, but that would be a lie. Truth is, redoing a room is kind of overwhelming and it just basically results in a sort of half done room all the time. Which thankfully for me doesn't stop me being creative, but it does mean that the filming space is limited. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been crocheting, as I alluded to in my last video, and one of the projects I've been working on is called the Rose Garden Jacket by TSCrochet, or Tania, I believe her name is. And I found her on Instagram just scrolling through and purchased her pattern off Etsy. And it is a really good pattern. The instructions are really clear and she really goes into detail. She has like video tutorials as well as written instructions for each step of the granny square. So because of that reason, I'm not going to be showing exactly how to do the granny square. I will show visuals of me doing it, but not the actual instructions because obviously that's her business. That's how she makes her money. So if you are interested in getting this pattern for yourself and giving it a go, I highly recommend it. It's super fun and really colourful. The first step in making this jacket is obviously to crochet all the granny squares. And there's 61 of them, so this process I basically spread out over a couple of weeks, crocheting in the evenings and on the train when I was commuting to work. They fit really easily in a bag, so you can kind of chuck like a couple of the ball of colour that you're working on at that moment into your bag and crochet away for the colours, the flowers that are in that step, and then do the same for when you want to add the green to certain flowers and the white to certain flowers. So it's quite a portable project until the very end. To note off the top of the video, I made a size large, or I followed the instructions for a large. When I blocked it, I then blocked it to just slightly under the size for a large because I was looking at how much my yarn wanted to relax and it just wasn't going to hit the 13 centimeters, which actually at the end of the day was really good because it turned out to be the perfect size. I have 61 squares and yeah, again I also measure the squares mostly to make sure that I block them evenly, but also to make sure that the size fits. Yeah, I got about 10 ends to weave in and then we'll go to blocking. It is an oversized jacket, so it's meant to hang off your shoulders. I am probably going to go and add a little string of chains to tie into a bow tie now that I've worn it a few times, because I tend to pull it over my shoulders. I want the coverage and I want it to sit up, but that's just a personal preference of mine. If you also have that and you don't want to, for example, do the tie, you can just crochet slightly smaller. And that's the last one done. Now I've got a bunch of these ends and I've actually been keeping them in here because, you know, you've got to cut off the ends for the whole project, and there's quite a few with so many colour changes. Here are all the ends from our whole project. I think it's pretty cool. Don't really know what to do with them. I think maybe they'd make good stuffing. If I knew how to respin it into yarn, I would do that too. Yeah, so now that I've finished weaving in all the ends, I can start blocking, which I'm going to use a couple of different strategies just because I'm not really sure with acrylic yarn what the best one is, and I think I want to steam it to relax the fibers, but then also spray it with water and let it dry just to make it stay in the size that I need it to be. So I invested in some blocks a little while back, and I've got the pins for it already, and I'm going to go ahead and set that up. So according to the pattern, each block needs to be about 13 centimeters, which I've measured out here. That's actually conveniently 5 squares of my blocking board, which is great. That means I can just use this as a reference. They're a little bit smaller than that. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and steam one, see what happens if it relaxes. They're not too far off. I think it should be reasonable to expect that they'll stretch to that size. Yeah, let's see how we go. Okay, so the fibers have relaxed a little bit. I am just going to double check the finished size of a large. I think this might actually be a little bit too big. Sorry if you hear crunching, that's just obes. So I might just adjust this to be 12 centimeters instead. Yes, that's roughly about 12. Food? Is that what you're looking for? Alright. You're kinda in the shot, Obes. You're in the way. Did you know that? Did you know you're in the way? Did you know that you're in my shot? You wanna maybe move? No? You don't wanna move? Alright, enough. Come on. Up you go. Alrighty, it's a little while later. I think all my squares are locked and they're all dry. So now I'm going to play around with some patterns, color patterns. So obviously these squares have to join, and I'd like to kind of play around with the shape and the order of the jacket and how I want to put that all together. And then we can start joining them, which is kind of exciting. Then it's just ribbing, and we're kind of at the end. So let me pull these last couple off the blocks, clear the table a little bit, and we can start playing around with layouts. The last step was to crochet the ribbing on the sleeves and on the collar. And I did this mostly at night, so I don't really have the footage for it, but there are heaps of tutorials online about how to crochet ribbing in different strategies. The one I used to do 1 row of single crochets and then come back with slip stitches into the back loop. So the single crochets into the back loop and the slip stitches into the back loop, and just alternate like that and build the ribbing kind of horizontally instead of going around the whole collar and then around the whole collar again to build each row. I built it section by section, up and down. This makes for a super stretchy ribbing, and it looks really pretty. I probably would have made the arm cuffs just a little bit longer, which unfortunately with this kind of style you can't just adjust as you go. You sort of, the first row you make is how tall it's going to be, and then I just match the other side. I still think it looks fine, just if I make this again I will do those things. I am thinking of opening up on my website commissions for projects like this. I obviously have to check with the creator of this particular pattern that that's something that she is comfortable with, and I would most likely purchase her pattern every time I did a commission, just so she benefits from that business as well. I guess comment down below if this is something you would like to see recreated in different colors and styles. Without further ado, it's now time for the reveal. It took me, I'm gonna guesstimate, about 80 hours to complete. So each square took about an hour total. Making the flower, adding the green, adding the white, that was about an hour. Obviously, if you made the smaller sizes, it would be a little bit less. But there's 61 squares, so that's 61 hours to make the granny squares in this project. Joining the squares together and arranging them took about 5 hours, I'm gonna guess. And then making the ribbing was another probably 10 or 15 hours. So I'm estimating the hours taken on this to be about 80 hours. And I used a 4mm crochet hook and 8-ply yarn weight, so just DK weight. And I used a mixture of yarns that I had already in my stash. If you'd like to see more of my videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment down below if you would love to see me do some commissions in cardigans or jackets of this kind of style. Not necessarily this exact pattern, but a similar kind of vibe. I already have an order in for my mother. I guess it's not really an order because it's more a present for her, probably for Christmas at this point, because of how long it takes to finish. But I will be doing that one, and I will share some photos on my Instagram for that. I'm also going through a website refresh, so keep your eye out for that coming up. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next month. Is that a watermelon?
I think so.
I'm about to find out.
I will find out.
Way that way. That's what I have to deal with.
I hope it comes up. I want to see that little
That's if I don't edit it out.
carrot.
I wouldn't. It's my roommate.